Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Chief Little Prong here. Let me turn off my theme music. All right, we're going to talk about the Kennedy assassination here for a minute. Try to keep it short. Always ends up being longer than I want it to be. But a lot of people are familiar with it, and there's two or three things that I think prove pretty much beyond a doubt that there's no way that he did this. And we're going to start right off with a bad gun. Okay, the Mannlicher Carcano, I think it was a World War I Italian rifle, and Mannlicher just means that the barrel is covered with wood. So it's really a Carcano, I guess. And it's a good-sized bullet. It's a military weapon, but it's really crappy. Now, after the assassination, they had people, including probably still to this day the best shot in the world, a Marine sniper named Carlos Hathcock, and he wrote a book, or co-wrote a book called Marine Sniper, really good book. I read it about 25 years ago, and he tried to duplicate the shot. He couldn't do it. He said no way, and he was, the world's best shot. Oswald was like the lowest. I'm probably a better shot than Oswald. He was like the lowest ranking you could get. He was in the Marines. I think it was the Marines, but anyway, he did have a rating, and it was extremely low. So the gun, I think the gun is one of the things. Another thing is when they arrested Oswald, they did it's a French test. It has a weird name like the blancmange or something, and it's like a wax paraffin that they put on your hands. Well, they put it on his right cheek and right hand. He was right-handed, and there was no residue. Which is strange. Okay, so I mentioned he was a bad shot. And also, he had only had that gun for about 3 weeks, so he had ordered it through the mail. It was used, well used probably, and didn't really have any time to practice with it. It's an extremely difficult shot. A guy named Richard, I think Richard's his first name, Belzer, wrote a book. I read it. It's really good, called Hit List. I think it's called Hit List. I just scribbled these notes down. It was a few years ago that I read the book. But anyway, all these witnesses that got killed or committed strange suicides, cars got ran over by a train, people fell out of buildings. One guy shot himself in his left temple and he's right-handed. One guy got killed in a police station. A lady named Dorothy Killigan got killed. All her notes disappeared, and the notes that her secretary, I think her secretary also got killed, and her notes that were going to blow the whole, because she announced she went and interviewed Jack Ruby and said she's going to blow this whole thing wide open. Well, within a few days, of course, she was dead. Now, when the police ran into the building, the Texas Depository, or whatever it was called, bookstore depository, Oswald was like on the second floor on the other side of the building in the lunchroom, drinking a Coke, acting all casual, and I think there was one or two other people that were in there while he was eating lunch. Also, Oswald said, "I'm a patsy." Now, most people, when they assassinate someone for political reasons, they would never deny it. They would be very proud. They're caught. They're going to be proud of what they did. And also, they didn't record. You think this is an important case. They didn't make any recordings, and I don't think they took any notes. There's no notes that were really taken during an interrogation. So that's kind of strange. A lot of people said that they could smell, gunpowder, and that shots were going over their head. And there's one guy, I don't know what his name is, but he was the guy that was even covering up his children so they wouldn't get shot. And he said, "Yeah, the bullets were whizzing right over my head." Well, they never interviewed that guy. He never went to the Warren Commission, which was kind of strange. Who might have done it? Could have been the CIA, FBI. They were mad at Kennedy. Kennedy was saying he was going to get rid of secret societies and all that kind of stuff. I think Kennedy was also having an affair with one of the top mafia guys. I don't know what the leader of family. I don't know what those guys are called, but he was screwing around. He was screwing around with everybody, but he was screwing around with. At that time, it wasn't a problem. You could screw a different, girl every day, and it was no problem. Now you just, wink at one, and your career's over. And anyway, so that guy was pretty mad at him. I think I think he had just enacted taken away a huge tax cut for like oil men in Texas. So there was a lot of people mad at him. Remember, Johnson's from Texas. Johnson was, probably wanting to be president. Who knows? Um, Another thing was Governor Connolly got shot too, and Oswald had asked him for an honorable discharge and got refused. So that's a little strange. Maybe someone had told him that they were going to, assassinate Connolly and not Kennedy. Also think maybe they had him set up everything like, like he was going to do the deed, and then they canceled on him. But someone went up there and threw some shell casings, because they did find a few shell casings on the sniper's nest. There was also a lunch bag up there that had like a, God, I wish I could remember whose print it was on. It was somebody that, there was no other prints, but there was like a print on the lunch bag that belonged to someone that they said that Oswald had never met. Now, remember, Oswald went to his boarding house before he went to the movie theater where he was caught. Well, there was an officer named Tippett who looked a lot like Oswald, which is so much strange. I mean, this just goes on forever. I mean, you could really get lost in this. Well, they found shell casings at the murder scene, and there's witnesses that said that there was two guys and they didn't look anything like Oswald. When they found shell casings at the murder scene, well, Oswald was caught with a revolver. Revolvers don't drop shell casings. So, that's kind of strange. Now, Jack Rubenstein, known as Jack Ruby, also had mob connections. And I think he had previously, I think there were witnesses that said that he had contact with Oswald. So, no residue, a horrible gun, a bad shot, and, why did all these witnesses die? Some mathematician said the chances of all these people dying, and some of these people were dying like on the way to testify, or the day, even like the day before, or on the way to testify, and strange deaths. A lot of people. I mean, you really should check this book out. Just this book alone, if you read this book, you would just say, this is just impossible. Someone is getting rid of the witnesses. Not really sure why. Back to people saying that there were shots coming over the grassy knoll, and maybe from that Dow Tech building or whatever. Now, see, that makes perfect sense, because when you're doing an important assassination like that, you're not just going to have one guy, especially with a weird angle, and he's not a professional assassin, he's not even a good shot. You're going to have like, three guys firing from different, different angles, different directions, whatever you want to call it, because if the attempt would fail, I'm sure security would really, get amped up, and it's just an interesting thing, and I think that a lot of people believe that he didn't do it, or that at the very least he didn't act alone. He might have gone up there and taken a few shots, probably missed for the most part, and someone did the headshot from a grassy knoll or maybe another location. Especially the way his body reacted with his head going back and, backwards, which would be, probably what would happen if you got a headshot. The Warren Commission was saying that a bullet, went in Kennedy and came out and went into this other guy and came out of his body and hit his wrist. And there was a guy that was by the Stimmons overpass that actually got injured and had blood, had wounds on his face from a bullet ricocheting, and him getting hit with the concrete debris, and they actually cut part of the curb out and stuff. So, is it possible that Oswald acted alone? I mean, I would say it would almost be impossible to get those three shots off in, what was it, 8 or 9 seconds. Now, the first one, wouldn't really count because you would already have the gun, you already have the bolt, you know, the bullet chambered, is what I'm trying to say. The Carcano is a bolt action rifle. So in other words, every time you take a shot, you got to lift a bolt, pull it back, a bullet will pop up, you push it forward, and I think, you know, hopefully it doesn't jam on you or anything like that because it was a crappy gun. And Jesse Ventura also tried to do that, and he's pretty rated. He's a pretty good shot. And he said absolutely impossible. And then he had other people do it too. That just I don't think anyone really ever did it. You know, they were reenacting it at that scene, and I believe they were also setting up, you know, out in the woods or whatever, but this right height and the angles and everything, and just really impossible shot. So anyway, there's something to think about, and you know, you can trust the government, I guess, and just go with official versions of stuff. But we all know how that goes. You know, like the Vietnam War was the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which now we know for sure that was that never happened, and then we got into a prolonged war. We started sending advisors over there probably like in '62 or something. The war actually started in '45, but we didn't get involved in it until like '62. And so I guess we were over there. We were over there in force for about 10 or 11 years. Well, we could have won that in probably 6 weeks. You know, the same thing with this Afghanistan war. We could just, with our might and our skills, we can go into some country like that and just in a matter of weeks, just have them on their knees. So, why would we do that? I don't know. Just distraction, money, you know, probably money. I think Johnson's wife owned a bunch of stock in a bomb company, you know, which is was every time they drop a bomb, Johnson and his wife would get money basically. So, you know, I mean, it's horrible to think about, but anyway, I'm getting a little off subject here. Stuff that just kind of is irritating. But anyway, have a good day. Chief Low Prong signing out.